I need a blog post on the benefits of automating data entry with AI automation software. Boom. In this video, I want to show you an AI automation that you can use for your company to generate one-click blog content that's on brand and in your style and tone. So for this automation, we're using Gumloop, which is no code. It's very simple to use. I like it more than some of the other popular platforms out there. So I'm going to show you how to set this up in Gumloop. It's pretty simple. First, I'm going to show you an overview of what we're doing, and then I'll show you step by step how you can set it up yourself. All right, so our automation begins in Slack. It really is as simple as going into your Slack channel and just typing or talking into your Slack channel and saying, I want a blog post on XYZ. And once you hit enter, that begins the automation. Now, the next step is our Perplexity web search node here. So we're not just doing generic ChatGPT blog content where you ask for a post. We're going to use Perplexity to search the internet and bring back citations and references to help inform our blog post. So this is the second step. Perplexity is going to take our prompt and the context from Slack and go out and research our topic on the internet. And then the next node that I have here is this Google Docs reader. So we're going to combine the web search from Perplexity, and I'm also going to use these brand guidelines that I made up, or I had ChatGPT made up for this example. So in this example, I'm going to pretend that we're writing blog content for the Gumloop blog. Okay, so when you're writing content for your own site, you want to feed the AI some background on your company, some guidance on tone and voice, themes that you like to write about, storytelling elements, call to actions, right? We want people to try Gumloop. So I had ChatGPT create this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that as context for our AI agent. So we're going to feed a couple of pieces of context to our agent to create the content. So again, number one is that web search from Perplexity that it's doing for us on this topic. And the second thing is the brand guideline. So it's going to combine the search with our brand guidelines to come up with a piece of content that's tailored to our company. Then we're doing a little bit of house cleaning down here. We're going to combine that brand guidelines that I have in Google Docs and the web search. I'm going to feed it into this combine text node and then feed that into the AI agent together. It's just a little housekeeping that we have to do in Gumloop to get both pieces of context into our AI agent over here. And then another piece of housekeeping that I'm doing over to the right side is this join list item. So Perplexity is going to come back with really two parts of its response. Number one is going to be the actual blog post, but number two are the citations themselves that I want to include at the end of the post. So I have to take those citations, feed it into a join list items node, and then I'm going to feed that all the way to the end, or not to the end, to this combined text. We'll get to this later. So the format of our finished blog post is going to include the post itself, obviously the title, which I'll get to, and then the citations are going to be at the end. Okay, so I'm going to pull those citations in separately. Then we have the main agent in this workflow, okay, this Ask AI agent. So again, my prompt is using the attached research info and brand guidelines, create a detailed blog post on the given topic. So it's taking the Perplexity web search research and it's taking the brand guidelines to generate that blog post. Then I have another AI agent kind of down here and to the right of the main agent, and I'm taking the output, the blog post output from the first agent, and I'm going to feed that into the second agent as context just to ask it to generate a blog post title for our post. Now, before we get to the final output, I need to combine all of these outputs into a single combined text here. So I'm taking and just to format it for Google Docs. So you can see in my inputs over here, I've got the title, okay, which I asked for. Then this is the main blog post. And then the citations are the second input. So this is what I'm going to take to feed into Google Docs. Then I have my Google Docs writer. Okay, so it's going to take the content which is all of this from the combined text node, which includes, again, the blog post itself from Perplexity and the citations. Remember, we're pulling those in. The title I'm grabbing here from this AI agent output. So we're grabbing the title and the content, and that's going to create the actual blog post in Google Docs. And then finally, the last part of the automation, I'm going to have that blog post sent back to me in Slack when it's done as a Google Doc, so I can just open the link and click it. All right, so let's build this from scratch. The thing I love about Gumloop is how easy it is. It's no code. It's not very technical. And the UI is really, really enjoyable to play with. So to start off, again, this entire automation starts in Slack. We're going to instruct our Slack channel that we need a blog post on XYZ by sending a Slack message. So I'm going to hit the node library, just search for Slack, and then I'm going to do message reader. Okay, I'm going to drag this onto the canvas, and we're going to do a couple of settings here. So number one is I do want to activate this as the flow trigger, meaning this is the start of the automation. The second thing I need to do is choose my channel. So you need to be connected to Slack from your Gumloop account. You can do that in your settings, and then pick the channel that you want this to come through. So this is the channel that I'm going to use, but make sure that you're connected to the correct channel that you're actually messaging. Messages, we're going to leave the message information as messages, and then this is important. Ignore bot messages. Turn this on. Otherwise, the bot and the Slack are going to just go back and forth, and we don't want that. So this is what it should look like. And now we also need to invite Gumloop to our Slack channel. All right, so to invite Gumloop to your Slack channel so it can read your messages, I have it on my clipboard here. This is all you do. It's / and then the word invite, then space, then @ and then Gumloop, okay? And you'll see Gumloop app pop up as a selection. You'll want to click that. I already have it in my Slack channel, so I'm not going to do that, but that's the command to invite Gumloop so it can read your Slack messages. All right, next we're going to use Perplexity. Again, the benefit of Perplexity is that it has access to the internet, so it can research our topic. It's not just hallucinating things like ChatGPT. It's actually going out and searching the internet to come back with its response. So we're going to feed our Slack message to Perplexity. All right, so click on that. I'm going to drag that down. Again, you need to connect, I believe, your Perplexity API. Actually, don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if you need your API key or not. I think I've included mine, but I honestly can't remember. If you do, it's in your Gumloop settings. So I'm going to drag my messages onto the search query, right? So this is what Perplexity is going to be searching when you type into Slack. You can leave the model as is, and then the search query is going to be crossed out because, again, it's taking that in from Slack. So make sure you connect your messages output to your search query input like I have right there. All right, the next thing that we want to do is we want to incorporate our brand guidelines into our blog post. Again, so it sounds more like us. It represents our business more than just generic AI content. I really encourage you to create this document for your business if you haven't done so already. So again, what I did is, this is just ChatGPT created this for Gumloop. So I'm going to use Gumloop as the example company here in this video. You'll have your own brand guidelines, of course, but this is an example of what it looks like. It includes our tone of voice, content themes, storytelling elements, visual interactive elements, CTAs, SEO considerations, and so on and so forth. And this is grabbed from, I took the Gumloop about page or our story page, fed it into ChatGPT, but obviously you want to create your own. So what we're going to do is, again, we want to feed this into our AI agent. So the way I'm going to do that is take a Google Docs reader node. So go back to our node library. I'm going to search for Google Docs, and I'm going to do reader. I'm going to put that on the canvas here. All right, I'm going to kind of just put it across from our Perplexity node. Now, what you want to do is copy and paste your Google Docs link. Okay. Now, I have my Google account connected to Gumloop. And so I'm going to share the URL. And I don't actually know if you have to do this, but I always put the access as anyone with the link. So I'm going to copy this link, go back to the automation, and then in the doc link, I'm going to just paste the link in there. All right, the next thing we want to do is take these citations from Perplexity and feed them into a node called a join list. And that's because Perplexity is going to output these citations as a list, and we want to join that together to feed it into the next step. So, because we want to use the citations at the end of the blog post. So pull a join list items node onto your canvas. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab this citations, and you can see it's notating this as a list here and the input as a list as well. So I'm going to grab the citations and just drag it right on top of there. And then for join by new line, so each item in the input list will be separated by a new line. So I want to do that. And even though actually in the final automation, I actually don't think it's adhering to that, but I'm going to turn this on anyway. So I'm going to click that as yes. Okay, so I'm feeding the citations to a join list item. So your canvas should look like this. All right, the next node that I want to add to my automation is a combine text node here. So what we're going to do is when we feed this into our AI agent, we need to give them both pieces of context, right? We've got the Perplexity web search blog post, and then what we have are our brand guidelines as well. So we want to kind of merge them together, the research itself and the brand guidelines. So drag the combined text node on here, and then so you can see it's asking for two pieces of input here, or we could do more than two if we wanted. But for this example, we only need two. So for the first, I'm going to drag the brand guidelines output to input 1, and then the response from Perplexity is going to be input 2. Drag that over here. And then let me just try to zoom in a little bit on this node over here. So for the combined text node, we just want to format this in a way for our AI agent. So I'm just going to write brand guidelines with a colon, and then I'm going to drag input 1, this little field here, because that's the input. Input 1, remember, is the Google Docs reader going to input 1. So brand guidelines, and then research, I'm just going to call this, which is going to be from Perplexity. So I'm going to drag input 2, again, the web search results from Perplexity, like that, okay? So our combined text node, which we're going to feed into our agent and prompt it. So this is basically providing our agent with all of this background. First, the brand guidelines, and then number 2, the research from Perplexity. Okay, now we want to add our first and our main AI agent here. So we want to go search for Ask AI, and I'm going to drag that onto my canvas like this. So this is going to be the main agent that is creating the blog post, okay? So we need to give it two pieces of information here. Number 1 is a prompt, which I have on my clipboard, okay? And it's saying, using the attached research info and brand guidelines, create a detailed blog post on the given topic. And then I'm just asking it to format it nicely for Google Docs, okay? So for the model, I mean, you can honestly choose whatever you want. I like to choose GPT-4o Mini. It's pretty cheap and it's pretty good. And then what we need to do is give it two pieces of information. So the prompt, I've already done that, okay? So that's done. I don't need to use an input here because I'm writing the prompt here. Now what I need to do is include the context, right? So those are the brand guidelines, and that's the Perplexity research. So remember, we combined those into this one combined text output. So what I'm going to do is drag this output into the context of the Ask AI node, okay? So now our AI agent, the main blog post creator, has the prompt, and it has all of the context from Perplexity and our brand guidelines. All right, so at this point, we've done a decent amount of work. If you want, obviously you can run this and test to see how we're doing. You can run it after every step if you want. I just don't want to make this video super long, but you can see we've got a decent flow going right now. So at this point, you can just hit the run button and it'll show you, if I move my face a little bit over here, what's going on. So the Google Docs was successful. The Slack message, it's, I believe, using the last message I sent. It's doing the Perplexity web search. It's combining the text, and now it's asking AI. And do I have that join list items as well from the citations? Okay, so all of this is running successfully. And if you want, you can check the input and output for any step, right? So if I go to Perplexity, I can see all inputs and outputs. Okay, so the search query, right? So it's grabbing my message from Slack, the last one, and it's outputting citations. So these are all of the links that it did the research on. And then here is the response, all right? So here's a bunch of information that my agent can use to write the blog post. So just FYI, you can test your automation in Gumloop at any time just by hitting run, and you can dig into every single part of this, even the combined text, right? I can go into this. What are the inputs? Well, it's taking the brand guidelines, and then it's taking the this is the output from Perplexity, and it's going to combine it. Remember, I wrote the brand guidelines, and then I wrote, where did it go? The blog post somewhere up here, which I can't find, but it combined those texts into one. So yeah, this is the research from Perplexity right here. Sorry, I couldn't find it. That's the research part. So this is the second input, and then this is the first input up here. So that's just how you can test it along the way. You can test it at every single step if you want, but I thought this was a good point to show you that. All right, now I'm going to add another AI agent here. This is just to create the title for our blog post. Okay, so I'm going to grab an Ask AI node again. Let me zoom in a little bit. And again, and by the way, you can rename these whenever you want just by hovering over it, right? So I can call this, if you don't want to, or if you want to keep track of what these are all are, blog post title. So you can rename these at every single node if you want. But again, it's asking for 2 bits of information, the prompt and then the context. So again, I've got the prompt, I think, on my clipboard here. So I'm just saying, given the provided blog post content, please generate one title for this post. Make it click-worthy and SEO optimized. Only output the title. Don't include any other text in your response. Format it as an H1 in HTML for Google Docs. So we've got our prompt. And now in terms of the context, what I want to use is actually the output, the actual blog post itself. So I'm going to take the response from the first Ask AI agent, which I can just call, I'm going to rename this blog post generator, right? So I'm dragging the output there to the context. So it has the context of the post, it has my prompt, and based on those 2 bits of information, it's going to generate the blog post title. All right, now we need another combine text node here, and I'll explain why in a second. So I'm going to drag this on to the canvas. So think about the outputs that we have right now. We have our title, which we just did. We have the blog post itself, and we have the citations. And again, think about this in terms of when you're formatting the actual blog post. Like when we look at a finished blog post in Google Docs, that's the information that we need. We need the title, we need the post itself, and we want the citations. So that's what this combined text node is going to do. It's going to combine all 3 of those bits into one so we can feed that to Google Docs. Now, the first thing that we're going to do here, you can see it's only asking for 2 inputs, but we need 3. So at the bottom, I'm just going to hit this add input button. And in this live example, I'm going to do this in hopefully the correct order. So the first input that I want is and again, I want to go in order, is the title. Okay, so here's the output of the title, this response. So I'm going to drag that onto the first input there, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this input 1 tag into the format field. So just think about it as a blank document where input 1 equals this response. So this is really the blog post title itself, and I'm going to hit enter. All right, now what's the second input that we need? What comes after the title? Well, that's the actual post itself. Okay, so this is the blog post generator output. Is going to be the second piece of input. So I'm going to drag this response to input 2. Okay, and now in terms of formatting, I'm going to drag input 2 right below there. Maybe a space. I'm not sure about the space, to be honest. I'm going to do another one. Now, the last bit of information that we need are the citations or the references. So again, envision this in a Google Doc. In a Google Doc, you would probably have the word citations above the citations themselves. So I'm going to write citations there. It's not needed for title and it's not needed for blog posts because they don't need like preamble text. So I'm going to drag the input 3, which I haven't done yet, but I'm going to drag it here. I don't think we need that much space. All right, so I need to drag the output of the citations, which is this join text, okay? Because remember, it's taking the citations from Perplexity and it's going to output this join text. So I need to drag this output all the way to input 3 like that, all right? So now our combined text, again, just visualize this like a blank document. Headline, blog post, then the word citations, and then under that, again, I don't think it's going to format properly. I don't know why. Under that are the actual citations from Perplexity. All right, so the next node that we need, and we're going to do this in Google Docs. You know, you can do this in Notion. You can do this. They don't have a WordPress direct integration, which I wish they did, and hopefully something that they can put in soon. But for this example, let's just create this blog post in Google Docs. So I'm going to do a Google Docs writer this time. It's going to write a new document. Again, you have to sync your Google account with Gumloop, obviously. So I'm going to drag that below. And it's asking for 2 pieces of context here. Number 1 is the content itself. So I'm going to drag the combined text, which includes the full article. And it's also asking for the title. So I'm going to drag the response from the blog post title agent right into there. Okay, so that looks good. So our title's filled in, as you can see. Our content is filled in. Now for format, I'm going to do HTML. That's what I asked for. Hopefully it'll comply and give us the nice headings. So I'm going to change that format there. But other than that, our Google Docs node looks pretty good. All right, now the final piece of this automation is we want that document to get sent back to me in Slack like it did at the beginning with the demo. So I'm going to do a Slack message, where is it? Sender, okay? So it's going to send me a message in Slack. So what you want to do is take the Google Doc link, okay? So when it creates the post in Google Docs, we want to take that link and connect that to the message and just make sure that you're in the same Slack channel as you're sending the message, okay? Make sure your Slack channels at the top, the very first node and the very last node match. I believe mine do, even though I'm not going to check it. So we're sending the Google Doc link back to Slack as a link, same channel, all other options you can leave the same. All right, so our automation is looking pretty good. Just really quick, we're starting in Slack. We're going to ask Perplexity to run some research. On the side, we're adding our brand guidelines. We're doing a little bit of text manipulation here, and we're going to feed this into our main AI agent, which is our blog post generator. We're also going to use a separate agent to create the title. Then we're doing a little more text manipulation over here. We're going to send that final output to Google Docs, and Google Docs is going to send that back to us in Slack. So let's do it again, and we're going to save, obviously. And again, you can test this a lot more than I'm doing right now. I'm just trying to be mindful of your time just by running this. And, you know, when I was creating this originally, I did plenty of testing. So again, inside of Slack, make sure you're in the same channel. So I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm just going to do voice to text as well. I need a blog post on the benefits of automating data entry with AI automation software. All right, I'm going to hit send that off. And what we can do is, I believe, go into Gumloop here. Where'd it go here? Now go to previous runs, refresh. Here we go. So I can see it's running now. You can click into it. and it's going to open up a new tab and again show you the progress as it's going. To be honest, I don't know why that Google Docs reader is above the Slack message. I think it's because it doesn't have an input, but that's fine because it's just reading the brand guidelines. Okay. And you can see it's going down Slack message reader. It's doing the research on Perplexity. It's combining the text. Now it's writing the blog post using the research from Perplexity and our brand guidelines. So it's custom and specific to our company. Now it's combining the text, writing it to Google Docs. And if we go back to Slack, all right, let's see. We're going to open that doc, and there we go. 5 reasons why AI-powered data entry is a game changer for business. So there is going to be a little, text that we have to clean up here. But here's our article: benefits of automating data entry with AI automation software. Key benefits of data entry automation, right? So it's pulling in these statistics from Perplexity, time saving and increased efficiency. I love how Perplexity is grounded in the web. So it's not just making up information like vanilla ChatGPT does. Software options for data entry, getting started with AI-powered data entry. The conclusion is over here. Now, where I could not get this to work, and if someone can chime in, it's the citations formatting. So what I wanted was the citations each on its own line. That's the only thing I could not get this to do, right? I want all of these links as their own line. I know it's a small thing. I tried several times. But other than that, this is a pretty good looking blog post that we have. It's grounded in the web. It's grounded in our brand guidelines. All I had to do was send a message to Slack. Now, obviously, you're going to want to proofread this. You're going to want to edit this in your tone and voice and clean it up a little bit for it. But for a first draft blog post, this is a pretty good automation. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any ideas for other videos that you want to see. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.